Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Today we'll start the lecture of salivary glands. Today we'll discuss all the salivary glands. I'm Dr. Sadia. So, what are the objectives of the parotid gland? Anterior, in which we will discuss the anterior and posterior borders of the parotid gland and its superficial surface, the parotid duct and the branches of the facial nerve of which are coming from the anterior border of the gland. So, this is very important. And the structures which are coming from the anterior border we'll discuss in a while. The tributaries and branches of the retromandibular vein, how the retromandibular vein is formed inside the parotid, and what are the branches of the retromandibular, and the external carotid artery, and which is inside the substance of the parotid gland and its terminal branches like maxillary and the superficial temporal, and how we identify the auriculotemporal nerve and what is the auriculotemporal nerve we'll discuss later, and the structures forming the parotid band and its ramus of mandible, the styloid process, the submandibular ligament, posterior belly of digastric, styloid muscle, and anterior border of the sternomastoid. Another important salivary glands are the submandibular and sublingual glands. Submandibular gland, its superficial and deep parts we'll discuss. Submandibular gland, its superficial and deep part is around the posterior border of the mylohyoid. So the relation of the superficial and deeper part of the submandibular with the mylohyoid muscle, and deep part of the submandibular gland at its duct on the hyoglossus muscles, the lingual nerve, the submandibular ganglion, and hypoglossal nerve. These are the all important relations of the submandibular gland. We will discuss later on. And sublingual gland, the lingual artery, and the deep lingual vein. We will discuss all of these important major salivary glands, and we'll also talk about by the minor salivary glands as well. So this is the first slide of the which shows the different major submandibular gland. This is the parotid gland, and this is the anterior border of the parotid gland, and from the anterior border of the parotid gland the parotid duct is coming out and is running over the masseter muscle. So this is the masseter muscle, this is the parotid duct, and this is the parotid gland, which is actually lying in the posterolateral position of the face. So it is behind the ramus, below the external auditory meatus, and in front of the sternocleidomastoid. So this is parotid gland. And this is the submandibular gland. This is the superficial part of the submandibular gland. This is the mylohyoid muscle. And this is the deeper part of the submandibular gland. And this is the minor salivary gland. This is the tongue, and this is the floor of the mouth. So these and the this is the submandibular duct which is coming out from the anterior part of the deeper deeper gland. Okay, deep part of the submandibular gland, and this is the sublingual gland, and these are the multiple ducts by which the sublingual gland opening into the floor of the mouth. So this is the actual position of the parotid gland. It is posterolateral. It is behind the ramus of the mandible. It is below the external auditory meatus, and it is actually जो है आपका in front of the sternocleidomastoid. So this is the actual position of the parotid gland, and this is the sublingual gland. This is the superficial part of the submandibular gland. Submandibular gland is actually lying below the mandibular border, lower border of the mandible, and it is present in the submandibular triangle, anterior part of the submandibular triangle, and it has superficial part and deeper part, and these parts divided by the mylohyoid muscle. Mylohyoid muscle is in between, which divides the submandibular gland into its superficial part and the deep part. And this is a duct of the submandibular which is coming out from the anterior end of the deep part of the submandibular gland, and this is sublingual gland. So this again parotid gland, the anterior border of the parotid gland, and this is parotid duct, and it is running over the masseter muscle. This is the submandibular gland, and this is the deep superficial part. This is the mylohyoid muscle. This is the deeper part. The mylohyoid muscle divides the submandibular into the superficial part and its deep part. And this is the sublingual gland below the floor of the mouth. And via the 8 to 20 smaller ducts, it opens into the floor of the mouth on either side of the frenulum of the tongue. So this is the sublingual gland. So this is the parotid gland again, and this is the branch of the, this is superficial temporal artery, this is the terminal branch of the external carotid artery, and this is the maxillary artery, which actually divides external carotid artery, which goes into the substance of the parotid gland and divides into the superficial temporal and the maxillary artery. And this is the facial nerve, which is coming from the stylomastoid foramen from the back, and it enters into the substance of the parotid and divides into the temporozygomatic and cervicofacial. Temporozygomatic divides into the temporal and zygomatic, and cervicofacial divides into the buccal, marginal mandibular, and the cervical branches. So, and this is the facial artery. And this is the parotid duct, which is coming from the anterior border. So, through, sorry. So through the anterior border, many structures will come out, like the branches of the facial nerve, like the parotid duct, like the transverse facial artery. So this is the branch of the maxillary artery. So this all actually coming, all major structures coming through the anterior border of the parotid gland. So that's why the anterior border of the parotid gland is very important. So this is again the parotid gland, the duct of the parotid which is running over the masseter, and this is the submandibular gland. So submandibular gland, and this is sublingual gland. So this is again the parotid, submandibular. The submandibular has a superficial part and the deeper part. Via the duct, it is opening in the floor of the mouth, and this is the sublingual gland via the multiple ducts opening into the floor of the mouth. So, in spite of the major salivary glands, what we have discussed today, okay, and up till now, and the minor salivary glands are also present, and these minor salivary glands are present inside the cheek, the tongue, the floor of the mouth, the upper aerodigestive tract. So these minor salivary glands are also very important. The major we have discussed, like parotid gland, the submandibular gland, and the sublingual gland, and their relation to the facial nerve. So this is a parotid gland. The major salivary gland is the parotid gland, and it is a uh, totally. It contains the serous cells inside it, and it is not mucus, it is only serous. It has serous acini in it, and it is wedge shaped between the mandible and sternocleidomastoid and overflowing both of these bounded structures. So these are the relations of the parotid gland. It is posterolateral, and it is actually behind the ramus of the mandible, and it is below the external auditory meatus and in front of the sternocleidomastoid. So anterior relations, masseter muscles. So masseter muscle is here and the parotid is here. So, and the ramus of the mandible, it is anteriorly, it is behind the ramus of the mandible. The ramus of the mandible is anterior, and the medial pterygoid muscle, which is coming from the medial plate of the pterygoid and is inserted over the angle of the mandible. So the medial pterygoid should be here. This is the ramus of the mandible. Over the ramus, we have a masseter, and the medial pterygoid is coming from the medial pterygoid plate and inserted over the angle of the mandible. So these are the all anterior relations of the parotid gland. Posteriorly, we have a mastoid process. So this is the mastoid process, sternocleidomastoid. The sternocleidomastoid is actually coming from the originate from the mastoid process of the temporal bone, and the facial nerve. The facial nerve is here between the styloid, is coming through the stylomastoid foramen, which is between the mastoid process and styloid process, and it is here and entering into the substance of the parotid gland. Superiorly, we have external auditory meatus and temporomandibular joint. So this is external auditory meatus, and this is the temporomandibular joint. And inferiorly, we have a sternocleidomastoid and posterior belly of digastric. So this is the sternocleidomastoid, and it is behind that we have a posterior belly of digastric, which is also coming from the mastoid process of the temporal bone. Laterally, we have a investing layer of the deep fascia, cervical and platysma muscle. Here, the investing layer of the deep fascia, and over that, the platysma muscle is present. And medially, we have a styloid process. And so, this is the styloid process, and the investing layer of the deep fascia. Then, over that, we have and here we have an internal jugular vein and internal carotid artery and the pharyngeal wall. So these are the medial relations. See here, this is the skin, this is the superficial fascia, this is the platysma, yellow is the deep fascia, this is the parotid fascia, and these are the superficial parotid nodes. Okay, and this is the superficial part of the parotid gland, and this is the deeper part, and facial nerve divides the parotid into the superficial part and the deeper part. This is actually retromandibular vein. This is external carotid artery, and the in the anteriorly, this is the ramus of mandible. This is the masseter. This is the medial pterygoid muscle. These are the anterior relations, and posteriorly we have a this is a mastoid process. This is a sternocleidomastoid, which is coming from the mastoid process of the temporal bone, and this is the posterior belly of digastric, which is also coming the mastoid process of the temporal bone. And medially, we have the pharynx, internal carotid artery, internal jugular vein, the vagus nerve, and the hypoglossal nerve, accessory nerve, and the which other nerve? And this is the stylohyoid muscle, and this is a styloid process. This is a styloglossus, stylopharyngeus, and the muscles which are around the styloid process. Then this is the again the facial nerve, which is coming through the stylomastoid foramen and entering into the substance of the parotid gland. This is a ramus of the mandible. This is medial pterygoid. This is masseter muscle. This is the superficial lobe. This is a deep lobe, which is actually divided by the facial nerve, and this is the mastoid process posteriorly. These are the anterior relations. These are the medial relations. These are the anterior relations. Ramus of the mandible and the जो है आपका है masseter muscle and the medial pterygoid muscle. These are the anterior relations. These are the posterior relations. Sternocleidomastoid and this um, uh, posterior belly of digastric, and these are the medial relations. The pharyngeal wall, internal carotid artery, internal jugular vein, vagus nerve, okay, and the glossopharyngeal, the accessory nerve, and जो है आपका hypoglossal nerve, and these are the muscles which are around the styloid process. Here again the facial nerve divides the parotid gland into superficial part and the deeper part. Here the facial nerve is entering and divides into the different branches inside the parotid substance. This is the medial relations, internal carotid artery and internal jugular vein, and this is the external auditory meatus. This is the masseter muscle. This is the duct of the parotid gland, and these are the nerves of the branches of the facial nerve which are through the coming through the anterior border of the parotid gland. This is superficial temporal artery and the superficial temporal vein, and this is greater auricular nerve. So these are the all relations of the parotid gland. So this is again the facial nerve dividing the facial parotid gland into the superficial part and deeper part, external carotid artery, retromandibular vein. This is the mastoid process, and the muscles like sternocleidomastoid and posterior belly of digastric. And these are the posterior relations. These are the anterior relations, mandible, medial pterygoid, masseter muscle. This is internal jugular vein and internal carotid artery and vagus nerve, and the other nerves. These are the medial relations. So anterior relations, posterior relations, and the medial relations. Again, the parotid gland, the facial nerve, passing through the stylomastoid foramen entering into the substance of the parotid gland. Different branches like temporal, this is zygomatic, this is buccal, this is marginal mandibular, and this is the facial branch. This is the facial vein, and this is the duct of the parotid gland, and this is the retromandibular vein, which is formed by the posterior auricular and posterior division of the retromandibular forms the external jugular vein. So we have discussed the parotid gland, but we have minor salivary glands as well. These are 450 in number, and they are present inside the lips, mucosa of the lips, cheeks, palate, floor of the mouth, and retromolar area. These minor salivary glands also appear in the upper aerodigestive tract, like the oropharynx, larynx, trachea, and they contribute the 10% of the total salivary volume. The facial nerve, which is very important, uh, the those structures which are inside the parotid, like facial nerve, the retromandibular vein, which is formed by the superficial temporal and maxillary veins, which we have already discussed, and the external carotid artery actually enters into the substance of the parotid gland and divides into the superficial temporal and the maxillary artery. So these again the superficial relations like the skin, superficial fascia, this is the platysma, deep fascia, and this is the parotid fascia, and this is the parotid gland. These are the medial relations, these are anterior relations, these are the superficial relations, and these are the posterior relations. The parotid duct is also called Stenson's duct, is 5 centimeter 2 inches long and arises from the anterior border of the gland. We have seen all of these structures and runs over the masseter, and it is actually arises finger breadth below the zygomatic arch, one finger breadth below the zygomatic arch, and it pierces the buccinator fascia and buccinator muscle and opens in the vestibule of the mouth. Through a small opening and opposite to the second upper molar tooth. The duct can easily be felt by a finger rolled over the masseter. Whenever you roll over your finger over the masseter, you will feel, because it is superficial to the masseter muscle. So whenever you roll your finger over the masseter, you will feel a cord-like structure that is actually a parotid duct, which is actually 5 centimeter or 2 inches long. So here it is opening into the vestibule of a mouth through a small opening and opposite to the second molar tooth. So this is a opening of the parotid duct opening. Okay, so these are the branches of the parotid gland. So this is the zygomaticotemporal branch. This is the phycofacial branch. So this is the temporal branch, zygomatic branch, buccal branches. These are the marginal mandibular. These are the cervical branches. These are the all branches of the facial nerve. Here it is V-shaped before entering into the substance. Here we can feel the facial nerve when it passes through the stylomastoid foramen and entering into the substance. Here is the V shape where you can palpate the facial nerve. So these are the branches which the facial nerve has given inside the parotid substance. Facial nerve emerges from the stylomastoid foramen, winds laterally to the styloid process, and can be exposed to the inverted V between the bony part of the external auditory meatus and the mastoid process. It has a useful surface marking, intertracheal notch of the ear, which is situated directly over the facial nerve. Just beyond the point of that nerve, it dives into the posterior aspect of the parotid gland and bifurcates almost immediately into its two main branches, that is the zygomaticotemporal and cervicofacial. Upper division, the temporal and zygomatic; the lower division, the buccal, the mandibular, and the cervical branches. Two divisions may remain completely separate within the parotid, may form a plexus of intermingling connections. It forms when the branches will come out through the anterior border of the parotid gland, and forms its plexus over the masseter muscle, and then it supplies all the facial muscle. The branches of the nerve then emerge out through the anterior aspect of the parotid to lie on the masseter, thence to pass to the muscles of the face. No branches emerge from the superficial aspect of the gland. So it only the branches will emerge out through the anterior border of the parotid gland. So this is the anterior border. The branches like zygomatic. This is temporal. This is zygomatic. This is buccal. This is marginal mandibular. This is cervical. They all branches will come out over the masseter muscle and forms is anastomotic intermingling over the masseter muscle and then supply the facial muscles. So blood supply of the parotid gland, it actually supplied by the branches of external carotid artery, superficial temporal branches like superficial temporal, superficial external carotid artery present in the substance of the parotid. So in the substance of the parotid, it gives the superficial temporal and maxillary artery that also supplies the parotid gland. The venous drainage drain into the tributaries of the external jugular vein. So it drains into the external jugular, which is formed by the posterior division of the retromandibular and the posterior auricular vein. So it drains into the external jugular vein. Regarding to the lymphatic drainage, it actually drains into the superficial parotid nodes, which are which are in the superficial fascia, and deep parotid nodes, which are inside the gland, and ultimately it drains into the jugulo-digastric nodes. The parotid or preauricular nodes, they also drain the area of the scalp, the medial part of the eye, and the area over the ear and the skin and fascia over the parotid gland. So these all structures, the lymph from these all structures received by the parotid nodes, and then then this lymph will go into the jugulo-digastric nodes. Nerve supply of the parotid gland, actually it is the secretomotor supply. It is actually taken by the glossopharyngeal nerve, its tympanic branch, then to the lesser petrosal nerve, then otic ganglion in the infratemporal fossa, and then through the auriculotemporal nerve it receives its postganglionic parasympathetic fibers that are actually secretomotor fibers. And sympathetic supply is actually taken from the superior cervical ganglion and plexus around the external carotid artery. Sensory supply by the great auricular nerve. Parotid secretions are actually semi-serous. Is a serous. It has only serous SNI, so its secretions are semi-serous. So it has hence stone formation is very rare in the parotid gland, and the investigation which is we done after the any problem develop in the parotid gland, that is psilography, is examination of the parotid after injection of radio opaque material through its duct. And the infection which is very common in the parotid gland, that is the mumps, is a viral infection of parotid gland which leads to swelling within the tight capsule. So it is associated with severe pain and difficulty in swallowing. This is a viral infection, and that actually reaches the parotid gland through the either through the blood stream or through the duct of the parotid gland, which is opening into the vestibule of the mouth opposite to the second molar tooth. Either via it gets its infection from the mouth, because those patients which have very bad oral hygiene, and that actually develop the different kinds of infections in the mouth, and that can travel through the parotid duct into the parotid gland. And the gland is also a site of benign polymorphic adenomas. Benign polymorphic adenomas are very common in the parotid gland, but the malignancy is very rare in case of parotid gland. So this is a benign pleomorphic adenoma of the parotid gland. Acha, Fraze syndrome is very common. The Fraze syndrome, in which what happened, this is the normal. This is the parasympathetic postganglionic parasympathetic fibers via the in the auriculotemporal nerve. These are the secretomotor fibers and reaches to the parotid gland, and actually pumps the secretion of parotid. Okay, saliva. It causes the discharge of the saliva. And the sympathetic, which actually which are coming to the great auricular nerve along with its sensory fibers. And these sympathetic fibers supplies the sweat gland, and it also supplies the parotid gland as well. This is normal. Okay. So what happened, these parasympathetic fibers, suppose when a damage occur, when a patient has got a जो है facial injuries, and in that injuries what happened, the sympathetic fibers, they are going towards the sweat glands, and they are also coming to the parotid gland, but the parasympathetic fibers which are running in auriculotemporal nerve, it supplies the parotid gland and also supplies the sweat glands as well. So whenever the patient eats anything, the beads of sweating present in over the area of the parotid gland. So this is called Fraze syndrome. So submandibular salivary gland. So this gland is a mixture of serous and mucus. The parotid was solely serous gland, but this is a mixture of serous and mucus. SNI lies below the lower border of the body of the mandible. It is present in the submandibular and anterior part of the submandibular triangle, and this it has superficial larger part and a deeper smaller part, and two positions and extensions. Anteriorly, the glands extends to the mental foramen, and posteriorly to the angle of the mandible above the mylohyoid line. So here is the mylohyoid line in between the superficial and deeper part where the mylohyoid muscle is attached, and below the glands extends to the hyoid bone. Here the hyoid bone is present. The below the gland is attached to the extends up to the hyoid bone. Capsule of the gland is derived from the deep cervical fascia of the neck. So this is a submandibular glands. This is the superficial part and its deeper part, and from the anterior and the deeper of the deeper part, this submandibular duct will arise, and it enters and opens into the floor of the mouth on either side of the frenulum of the tongue. This is the sublingual gland, and this is the mylohyoid muscle which is attached over the mylohyoid line, which actually divides the submandibular gland into its superficial part and a deeper part. Here again, so this is the superficial part, this is the mylohyoid muscle, this is the superficial part of the gland, this is the deeper part, and from the deeper part the submandibular duct arises and opens into the floor of the mouth on either side of the frenulum of the tongue. This duct is also called the Watson's duct. So it consists of a mixture of serous and mucous acini. It lies beneath the lower border of the mandible, is divided into superficial and deep part. So this is the superficial and this deep part. The mylohyoid muscle. So this is the mylohyoid muscle which actually divides the submandibular gland into its superficial and the deeper part. The submandibular duct emerges from the anterior end of the deeper part. So this is the submandibular duct which is emerging from the anterior end of the deeper part and runs forward beneath the mucous membrane of the mouth, opens in on a small papilla at the side of the frenulum of the tongue. It's supplied by the parasympathetic secretomotor supply from the facial nerve via the chorda tympani. It receives its parasympathetic secretomotor fibers through the chorda tympani nerve, and sympathetic supply by the submandibular ganglia. Sorry, chorda tympani and submandibular ganglia. Acha, okay, this is the parotid, and this is the parotid duct. This is the masseter. This is the posterior belly of digastric. This is the anterior belly of digastric. This is the submandibular gland. This is the deeper part of the submandibular gland. This is the superficial part of the submandibular gland. This is mylohyoid muscle. This is the submandibular duct. It's called Watson's duct. This is called Stenson's duct, and this is the sublingual gland in the sublingual fossa. So, and these are the 8 to 20 smaller ducts by which the sublingual gland opens into the floor of the mouth on each side of the frenulum of the tongue. So, this is all about, and this is mylohyoid muscle, and this is attached over the mylohyoid line. So, above the mylohyoid line, we have a sublingual fossa, and below the mylohyoid line, we have a submandibular fossa. So this is submandibular gland. This is the inferolateral surface of the submandibular gland, which is actually covered by the skin, superficial fascia, deep fascia, and submandibular lymph node. Here the skin, submandibular fascia, deep fascia, and here the submandibular nodes are also present. On the lateral surface, the medial pterygoid muscle, which is coming from the medial pterygoid muscle from the जो है medial pterygoid plate up to the angle of the mouth. Submandibular fossa of the mandible. This is submandibular fossa of the mandible, lateral surface, and the facial artery. So this is the facial artery. On the medial surface, we have a stylohyoid muscle, and we have a mylohyoid muscle. This is mylohyoid beta. Okay. This is a anterior belly of digastric. This is mylohyoid, and here is the hyoglossal muscle. This is the hyoglossal muscle. This is stylohyoid. This is styloglossus, and this is hyoglossal muscle, and this is mylohyoid, and this is actually anterior belly of digastric. So these are the muscles which are present anteriorly, styloglossus, and this is genoglossus. This is sorry, hyoglossus. This is genoglossus. This is anterior belly of digastric. This is mylohyoid. This is anterior belly of digastric. Again, the anterior belly of digastric, mylohyoid muscle, which actually divide the superficial and deeper lobes of the submandibular gland. This is genoglossus, and this is hyoglossus muscle. Over the hyoglossus, this lingual nerve and submandibular duct is also present. This is sublingual fossa, and this is submental artery, which is the branch of the facial artery. So these are all medial relations. In the lateral relations, we have facial artery, and we have submandibular fossa, subfacial artery, submandibular fossa, and the medial pterygoid. Okay, medial pterygoid is coming from here and inserted over the angle of mandible. So this is again the medial relations. This is the submandibular gland, superficial part, deeper part, mylohyoid muscle, anterior belly of digastric. Here is the genoglossus, which is coming from the mental spines of the mandible, and this is hyoglossus muscle. Over the this is the submandibular duct. Okay, and the lingual nerve which actually crossing the submandibular duct. So this is submandibular ganglion, and this is a sublingual gland opening via the multiple ducts into the floor of the mouth, and this is actually submandibular duct. This is submental artery, and this is actually stylopharyngeus, styloglossus. So these are the medial relations. This is posterior belly of digastric. This is anterior belly of digastric. This is the hyoid bone. Again here, submandibular gland, submandibular ganglion. This is lingual nerve. This is mylohyoid muscle, and this is medial pterygoid, and this is posterior belly of digastric. This is anterior belly of digastric. So this is the lingual nerve, and this is the submandibular duct. This is the deeper part of the sublumen. This is the hypoglossal nerve. This is the deeper part of the submandibular gland. So this is a superficial part of the submandibular. This is deeper part of the submandibular, and this is the submandibular duct, and this is the anterior belly of digastric. This is actually mylohyoid, which divides the superficial part from the deeper part, and this is actually hyoglossus. The anterior belly of digastric, mylohyoid, and actually this is hyoglossus. So this is hyoglossus muscle. This is a mylohyoid muscle, which divides the superficial part from the deeper part, and this is the anterior belly of digastric. So, um, submandibular between the structures between the hyoglossus and myoglossus. This is mylohyoid. This is hyoglossus. We have to describe the structures between the hyoglossus and mylohyoid muscles of the following structures lie and also considered as the medial relations like lingual nerve. So, beta, this is the lingual nerve which is crossing the submandibular ducts. This is the lingual nerve and submandibular ganglion. So, this is a submandibular ganglion, and this is the duct of submandibular gland. So this is a duct of the submandibular gland. Hypoglossal nerve. We have a hypoglossal nerve as well. So this is the hypoglossal nerve. Blood supply of facial artery. So this is the facial artery, and submental. So this is a submental artery. So these are the all important relations. So submandibular gland, posteriorly the gland, the rests against the hyoglossal against the hyoglossus muscle and becomes here comes in contact with the lingual nerve. ठीक है, hypoglossal nerve, both of which lie on the hyoglossus as they pass forward. I showed both of nerves, a hypoglossal nerve and the lingual nerve. Facial artery also comes in close relationship with the gland. I already showed you. And the approaching is posteriorly, then arching over the, you know that the facial artery, which is branch of the external carotid artery, winds round the lower, wind rounds the submandibular gland and lower border of the mandible, and then it enters into the face, ठीक है, and inferior border of the mandible, and then ascends on the face in front of the masseter. From the medial aspect of the superficial part of the gland, it projects its deeper prolongation along the hyoglossus because the deeper portion of the submandibular gland is present over the hyoglossus muscle. The submandibular duct arises from its deeper part, anterior end of the deeper part of the submandibular gland. It runs forward beneath the mucosa of the floor of the mouth, along the side of the tongue, and to open immediately at the side of the frenulum of the tongue. On each side of the frenulum of the tongue, the Wharton's duct will open. The other name of the submandibular duct is Wharton's duct. Sublingual gland is also lateral. Sublingual gland is also lateral to the deeper part of the submandibular gland. The lingual nerve reaches the tongue by passing from the lateral side of the duct below, and then it becomes the medial side. So it has a double crossing the submandibular gland. The lingual nerve double crosses the submandibular duct, and then from lateral it reaches to the medial side. Submandibular lymph nodes lie partly embedded within the gland and partly between it and the mandible. Submandibular nodes receive the जो है आपका lymph of the submandibular gland. It also receives the lymph from the forehead, the nose, the bridge of the nose, and the cheeks, upper lip, lower lip, except the central part of the lip, and the जो है आपका upper teeth, lower teeth, except the incisors of the teeth. So these all area actually drained into the submandibular glands, and from the submandibular glands it enters into the jugular-digastric nodes, upper deep cervical nodes. So the nerve supply of the submandibular is coming from the chorda tympani branch of the facial nerve, which originated from the superior salivary nucleus in the medulla oblongata. The lymphatic drainage is via the submandibular gland, drains into the jugular-digastric lymph nodes. So this is again the picture of parotid gland, the duct of the parotid which is coming from the anterior border. This is the masseter. This is the posterior belly of digastric. This is the anterior belly of digastric, and this is the superficial part. This is the mylohyoid muscles. This is the deeper part. This is the submandibular duct, which is and takes its origin from the anterior end of the submandibular gland and going up. This is the sublingual gland. Neoplasms of the salivary glands, actually 75% occur in the parotid glands, and mostly in the parotid gland, the tumors, 80% of the tumors are benign, and 80% are pleomorphic adenomas. ठीक है, 50% of the salivary tumors occur in the submandibular glands. ठीक है, from the 50%, 15%, 50% are benign and 50%. मतलब the rate of malignancy is higher in case of submandibular gland rather than the parotid gland. So the malignancy is rare in the parotid, and it is almost 50-50 in submandibular gland. So 10% of the salivary tumors occur in the sublingual, and 60 to 70% of the chances, okay, the sublingual gland is malignant. So the higher chances of malignancy in sublingual gland and in the minor salivary glands. So higher chances of malignancy in the sublingual gland. Whenever you find a swelling in the region of the sublingual gland, always think this is a malignant until proved otherwise, because the chances of malignancy is very higher in the sublingual gland and the जो है minor salivary gland, and almost 50-50. The 50% are benign and 50% are malignant in case of submandibular gland. So uh, in submandibular gland, and very rare in case of parotid. Whenever you find a swelling in the submandibular gland, always investigate thoroughly to exclude the malignancy in it. Applied aspects. the formation of calculus is more common in the submandibular gland than in the parotid because it is a thick secretion of seromucus. That's why it has a higher chances. Pre-excision of submandibular salivary gland, a skin crease incision as a rule, given more than 1 inch below the angle of the jaw. Why 1 inch below? Because to save the marginal mandibular branch of the facial nerve. A stone in the submandibular duct, Watson duct, can be palpated by malleoli in the floor of the mouth and can be seen sufficiently larger. The stones are very large in case of submandibular ducts. The stones are very large and present in the duct. So they are very common. And the presence of and the swelling in the submandibular area, the swelling is very tense swelling and below the angle of below the body of the mandible, and the swelling is below the body of the mandible, and it is quite tense swelling, and it mostly appears before or during the meal and reduced in size or absent between meals. And this is the diagnostic area. Okay, this is the diagnostic sign. Okay, actually the swelling is actually coming from the submandibular gland, which is increased before or during the meal and actually reduced or absent after the meals. So these swellings mostly occur due to the impaction of the stone in the duct. And the sub tumors in the gland are uncommon. 50% chances होते हैं. Enlargement is more due to the calculus. Mostly the painful tense swelling occur due to the calculus formation in the ducts. And when you see the the floor of the mouth, there's no execution of saliva coming from the Wharton's duct. And other thing, and you can palpate the stone in the floor of the mouth in the duct. You can palpate the duct in the floor of the mouth and palpate the duct in the stone, or palpate the stone inside the duct. Swelling is very hard, very tense, and but not stony. If it is stony, it means it is actually due to the malignancy and should be differentiated from submandibular lymph nodes. The submandibular lymph nodes actually uh, are also enlarged, and they actually drain the lymph from the different areas, as I already discussed. Is coming from the scalp, is coming from the forehead, nose, and cheeks, upper lip, lower lip, upper teeth, lower teeth, and floor of the mouth, and anterior two-thirds of the tongue. So you can see if the submandibular lymph nodes are enlarged, you can palpate, or you can check all the draining areas from where the submandibular lymph nodes receive the lymph. So it is very important. Okay, you'll check all the draining areas. If there is no swelling inside the gland or it is in the submandibular nodes, then you have to thoroughly check those areas which actually drained by the submandibular lymph nodes. And all tumors which are occur in the, they are mixed tumors in the submandibular gland. So this is the swelling which is occur in case of in the obstruction due to the duct. This is submandibular swelling, and this swelling is very tense swelling below the angle of the mandible, which is actually increases before and during meals and reduced in size or absent between meals. This is a diagnostic condition. Ask the patient at which time the swelling increases and which time the swelling decreases. And also tell the patient to open the mouth and see the ejection of the saliva in the mouth, in the floor of the mouth, or feel the stone in the duct by palpating with your in between the finger and between the thumb. So this is the stone. This is the floor of the mouth. This is the stone. Surgeon is taking out the stone from the Wharton's duct. So see this is how big the stone is. And sublingual salivary gland. The position of the gland obviously in the sublingual fossa, floor of the mouth, below the floor of the mouth. In the sublingual fossa, relation sublingual fossa mucus fold. So this is in sublingual gland. ठीक है, in the sublingual fossa. Below we have a mylohyoid muscle. Below the mylohyoid we have a submandibular fossa. Above it we have a sublingual fossa. So medially we have a genoglossus muscle. Genoglossus is actually attached here, so it is attached with the mental spine. So here is the genoglossus area. And the lingual nerve, so this is a lingual nerve which is present medially. And submandibular duct, this is a submandibular duct, this is a lingual nerve, and this is genoglossus muscle. So these are the medial relations. Laterally we have a sublingual fossa of mandible, so this is a sublingual fossa of the mandible. And posteriorly we have a deeper part of the submandibular gland, so this is the deeper part of the submandibular gland. Anteriorly, this sublingual gland meets its fallow and meets its fellow to the opposite side. Okay, and so this is a sublingual gland, this is the lingual nerve, this is sublingual gland, this is the lingual nerve. Posteriorly we have a deeper part of the gland with the submandibular duct. And this is mylohyoid muscle. Here the genoglossus muscle is present, so this is again submandibular superficial part. And the deeper part, this here is the sublingual gland, which actually meets with their fellow on the opposite side. This sublingual gland via multiple ducts opens into the floor of the mouth below the mucosal fold of the floor of the mouth. So what is the blood supply? Blood supply is from the sublingual artery, branch of the facial artery, and the submental artery, branch of the facial artery. So facial artery actually supplies the sublingual gland. Nerve supply is same like submandibular gland, is coming from the parasympathetic supply. Chorda tympani is given by the chorda tympani of the facial nerve, which arises from the superior salivary nucleus. Lymphatic drainage via the submandibular lymph nodes drains into jugular-digastric nodes. Like it is a sublingual gland also drains into the submandibular nodes and then into the jugular-digastric lymph nodes. Whenever the duct of the sublingual gland gets blocked, जब ये block हो जाएगी, what happened? You will find a mucus cyst in the floor of the mouth. So this is a mucus cyst. This is also called a retention cyst. Why this occur? Because of the blockage of the one of the duct of the sublingual gland. This condition is also called ranula. Siloliths means this. Siloliths, inflammatory salivary gland diseases. Siloliths is actually the stone in the sublingual gland, but it is very rare. Inflammatory conditions are also present in the sublingual gland. Tumors, if the tumor will occur, it always will be malignant, because the chances of malignancy is very higher in the sublingual gland. So it about 60 to 70% chances of malignancies in the submandibular gland and in minor salivary gland. So higher rate of malignancy in the sublingual gland. So whenever you will find a thick hard swelling in the region of sublingual gland, it means it is malignant. Thank you so much.